Hi there, Linnea. This is part one of your two-part video lesson. Today, I'm going to try to do my best to demystify something that is difficult, I admit. But it's not as difficult as it seems once you kind of grok some concepts. Okay. So, I'm looking right here at a C scale from 1, C1, to 2, to 3, and then 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 1. See that? And now, from C to shining C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes, right? Now 1 and 1, 1 and 8 are the same note, so we're going to call those. See, that's C, this is C. Now I drew these little lines in between. The line that has a hash mark in between, that shows that we skipped a note, right? So this is C. This is like the open string of your low, or the open string, the lowest string on your ukulele. This is the second fret, right? We skipped the first fret, moved to the second fret, right? This is the fourth fret of that same string, right? Open string, second string, fourth string. The reason this is the fourth string is because we again had to skip that note, right? But from E to F, from the third to the fourth note of the scale is a half a step, one fret. That's why the fourth note of your scale on your open C string is the fifth fret, right? Open, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth fret. That's why it has a dot, right? That's the F on your ukulele, your fifth fret. And then there's the sixth fret, the weird note. See how I skipped it? And then the fifth note of the scale is right here, the seventh fret. I know these numbers get confusing, but I'm hoping that this little chart helps to disambiguate a little bit. Okay, so this was our fifth fret. That's our seventh fret, right? Then the ninth fret. See, I skipped a note. Seventh fret, eighth fret. The ninth fret is the sixth of the scale, or an A in this case. Then I'm going to skip 2 more frets to the 11th fret. Boom! That's the seventh note in the scale. We also call that a leading tone. And notice from here to there is a half step, right? So these notes do da 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 is the major scale going from 1 to 1. That's why it sounds so very do re mi fa sol la ti do. If I went from the fifth note of the scale, I ran out of paper here. Here's the fifth note of the scale here. See, there's 6. Now there's something similar about the pattern here from the fifth note. Oops, let me keep this thing all together. There's something very similar about the pattern that happens of whole steps and half steps. Whole steps are 2 frets, right? That's a whole step, half step, whole step, up. Then there's a half step and then a whole step. See the very little tiny difference between a scale that runs from 1 to 1, right? And the difference of a scale that runs from 1 to 1, where the half steps are between 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. If I run the scale instead from the fifth note of the scale to the fifth note, see, is that the half step, there's a half step between 3 and 4. That sounds very similar. But then there's a half step between 6 and 7. There's a whole step between 7 and 1, or between the second to last note and the last note. Sorry for using those numbers again. Oop, oh, my phone stopped for a second. In other words, I'm going to take this off here. If I play, that's a C major scale. Those are all the notes that are there. But if I play the same notes, it's going to sound different because this note doesn't sound quite high enough. It's really, really common, especially in bluesy music, for the seventh to be permanently flatted. I'd call this kind of like a G7 scale, okay? And the reason I'm calling it a G7 scale is it maps over a G7 chord, where the second to last note is not a half step away from the root like normal, like in a normal major scale, but it's a whole step away. And then here's my C. Now, what if I was going to be playing something that played if I'm playing something from C to shining C, and then again from G to G, but using just those notes. This is like a C scale that runs from G to G. See what I mean? Because it's just those notes that we already know. So sometimes if I'm playing, say I was playing a simple chord change that went from C to G, like if I was playing it on a ukulele, I'd be playing a C chord, and I would play the same scale that fits over C. But then when I start playing over a G chord, I'm going to want to use the form of the scale that corresponds to the C scale, right, with that F there. Oh boy, this is so confusing. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to show you exactly how this works on a ukulele now. Okay, so I'm going to stop this little part of the video about the piano. I'm going to switch over to ukulele and show you exactly what I mean. Okay, hang on a second. I'll be right back.